Yes.
Good. So it's 1 p.m. and then we'll get started. So thank you everyone that has joined once again. I see more people have joined. Thank you for being here on the busy weekend for most parents, adults all over the world. And it's a long weekend for us here in Canada. It's Thanksgiving on Monday. So hopefully you have the day off on Monday to catch a break before the new week starts. So thank you for joining. My name is Olawumi. I'm based in Saskatoon, in Saskatchewan, Canada. I'm a registered nurse, early childhood educator, and I'm also a parenting coach, and I'm also a pastor. So the reason we're here together is I work with parents on how to parent their children, especially in diaspora. And I see something repeating over and over with immigrants, whether newly coming here or been here for a while. And that's financial, how we handle money is totally different. Where most of us are from, everything is done with cash. And now we're in a community where things are done mostly on credit. And sometimes people take advantage of that credit and they put themselves in trouble. And we're raising children. So if we don't have that financial literacy, how can we teach it to our children? I believe our roles as parents involves and includes teaching our children, how to be financially prudent, manage their resources, be able to build wealth, and even for us as parents to be able to leave something for them, like the Bible said, leave an inheritance for your children's children. And I also like this Bible verse that says God gives us the power to make wealth. God doesn't drop money from the sky. We have to manage resources He has given us to be able to, create that wealth. So I've brought to us someone today that is, versed in that topic, finances, financial hub in Canada. And I will let her introduce herself, and then we'll jump right into the questions. And we'll just kind of do a little bit of, talking back and forth conversation, because we're both mothers, right? We're raising children here. How do we teach them to know that the food in the fridge, we paid for it. It didn't just drop in there, when they ask for money. But it's not expensive. It's only $50. And you're looking at them like, do you know how much I earn per hour, right? So over to you, Ma. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma, for having me to do this. I really appreciate this opportunity and it's not taken for granted. So my name is Adeola Kinte, and I migrated to Canada last year with my family, so last year, February. And in Nigeria, I've always worked in the financial sector, precisely in the banking industry. And I worked with a number of banks and I rose through the ranks. Managerial roles, regional head, and all of that. So like almost 20 years of banking in Nigeria. So getting into Canada as well, I didn't want to totally change my career path. So because I would say I'm a finance enthusiast, and so I actually looked at what I can get to do here. So while I'm actually working the minimum wage job, I also had to take courses in financial planning, and all. To the glory of God, I've completed my courses and I've got some licenses as well. So, and today, mommy I said I should talk to Ross. So I'm also going to be learning from everyone because nobody knows it all. And so, and the way finances work in Canada is actually different from the way it works in Nigeria. So based on that, I said, okay, let me take up this challenge and see what I can do for myself and my family as well as my community. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for that introduction. And, for those that have joined that will watch on YouTube, and name on Instagram is right here so that you can reach out to her if you have questions that we didn't talk about in this session, because we can't cover everything. So the first thing that always comes to my mind is this notion of we're doing very well where we came from. Our children are already used to the certain kind of life. There was money, things were done. They didn't have to ask for things to be done that requires money. And now people relocate here and you're starting afresh. And sometimes I've seen children complain about, we had a good life before we came to Canada, and now I don't even have a phone. Sometimes they say certain things and I'm like, did the parents even explain to them before bringing them here that things will change for a little while before we find our footing and we can bounce back? So how do we navigate that change in financial capabilities, if I will use that word, when you relocate somewhere new and you have children and they feel it? How do we out? Because like you said, you just moved here last year, right? So definitely you've gone through something similar to that. So from someone that does with finances, how would you educate us, other parents watching, to help our children navigate that water?
Okay, thank you so much, Ma. And this question actually resonates very well with me. So, yes, you rightly said where we are coming from in Nigeria, and for some of us, we're living comfortably. So, and our children are not just used to not having in abundance. So, like, I would also say that, when we got here, we told our children when we were coming that we are moving, we're going to be starting all over again and all of that. But they didn't actually know the extent, like they didn't know what the reality was going to look like. And then, so the first shock they had was when they got in here and they were told to go backwards, like in school,
School.
maybe a year or two
Yeah.
backwards. My second son said, "Oh wow, he was in GSS 3 in Nigeria.
Mm, mm,
When he got here, they sent him back to grade 7.
mm,
He first said, how would I waste my life?
mm.
Going 2 years backwards and all of that." So
Yeah.
after a while, and I said, Adara, see me, would you still like to go back to Nigeria? I said, no, mommy, I'll manage. Then, so like they're already seeing the difference. And coming to the financial aspects of it and
Mm-hmm.
everything, we were
Mm-hmm.
living in our own house, very big duplex, and they've
Mm,
always grown in that house.
mm,
Like growing up, they didn't live in rented apartments
mm,
and all of that. But getting here, staying in a two-bedroom, and then managing things.
mm,
And I remember one time when my daughter said, this Canada is good, but I would say we are living below average. Like in
mm,
Nigeria,
mm,
we're not living below average. I've never seen you and daddy sitting together to talk about money, budgeting the
mm,
way you do here.
mm,
So I think, yes, that's the reality of it. Because in most cases, when they want to buy things, and I'll tell them it is not in this month's budget. So everybody will rest. So
mm,
we had to save because we
mhm,
also looked towards getting our first home. I said,
mhm.
all the things that you people are talking about, they're just going to be temporary.
It's,
That soon you will see the result of what we are doing. And I would say it keeps getting better. But
mhm,
navigating that process is that first
mhm.
and foremost, we have to prepare the minds of our children that this economy is totally different
Different.
from where we are coming from.
Yeah.
First and foremost, the bills are very high,
Mm,
and in Nigeria, they don't usually tax goods and services the
mm,
way we pay taxes on everything right on here. So we made them to understand that part. It actually wasn't easy, but for the fact that we usually carry them along, and they know that where we are coming from, not that we tolerate excesses, but
mm,
we usually meet their basic needs
mm,
right on time.
mhm,
But when we got here, everybody would manage, like maybe towards the end of the month, I'll say, okay, come, everybody, let's do our budget. What are the things we need? Like we'll talk about the general things everybody need in the family, and then we go to individual things, and then we look at our needs, because right now they know the difference between needs and wants. So
exactly.
your needs should be on the top burner, like we have to
Yeah.
pay our rent, and then
Mhm,
transportation, feeding, gas, and all of that would first have to sort that one out.
mhm,
Then when they now say, oh, when we're in Nigeria, we usually go out as a family, go out maybe like once or twice in a month, just
mm,
enjoy, eat together and all. In fact, there is one day that my daughter said, Mommy, when are we going to start doing DoorDash in Canada? I said, what's DoorDash? I
no
said,
money, no money for that yet.
yes, because I actually knew, but at least, and they to a very great extent, they showed
Mm,
understanding, and through the help of God Almighty, we've been able to actually weather this storm together. And
mm,
I would say that it's getting better because there are
it's
some
good.
mileage that we've achieved right now, and they as
Mm,
well, they're saying, "Oh, yes, thank you, mommy and daddy. I actually know that the sacrifices that we made when we came, they've started paying off."
good, 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 good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to piggyback on something you said, and I'm so happy you said it. Carrying the children along. Because like I said at the beginning, I'm a parenting coach, but I do talk to children too. And of recent now, I'm drawn more to preteens and teenagers. And I hear statements from some of them that shows that their parents didn't prepare their mind for coming. They didn't prepare their mind before relocation. And even while they're here, they don't know what it takes to have a minimum wage job. Some of them don't even know how much rent is. So they sit there talking to me, complaining about something, and I'm looking at them thinking, you have no clue. So as parents, for those of us that are watching, as parents, it's very important, at a certain age, your children need to know that money doesn't fall from the apple tree. I remember a while back, our children were still young then, that somebody needed something and the child turned to the parent. So the parent said, oh, no, we can't buy that now, or we can't pay for that now, something like that. And the child looked at the parent and said, oh, just give them a check. And we all started laughing like, check? There must be money in the bank account before you issue a check. So children are growing up not understanding that this money comes from a source, and this money has to be spent on certain things, which, last week I started my session with, the bottom lane of the Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of need. There is food, there's clothing, there's shelter. It takes money to provide those three things. They don't just happen automatically. And also, even for those that are recently, relocated here, just as you had high expectations of Canada or wherever you've moved to, your children have also seen things online. They've seen videos and they just think, oh, life is just rosy over there. Once we land there, everything is good. Bam. And then they just know that, oh, mommy got a job, daddy got a job. They don't know how much you're earning. So then they ask, they make demands, and they find it strange that you're saying it's not in the budget. So I really like how you brought that up about the children have seen you sit down as a couple making the budget for the family. They've seen you discussing how money is spent. They've heard comments like, it's not in the budget, or the budget for this month cannot accommodate this thing. So now let's go to entitled and enabled children. Every time that I hear parents complain that the generation we're raising, how they feel entitled, this and that. And I say we enabled them, because there's nothing your child owns that they bought with their own money. I mean, maybe teenagers, maybe they're already working, which we'll still talk about teenagers that want to get summer job. So how do we do with children that feel that they are entitled? Yes, you're my parent, you should be able to buy this for me, food, clothing, shelter, safety, this and that. What would be your advice to our viewers on how to deal with a child that is seriously entitled and feels like you're a bad parent and we don't have a good life anymore? How would you handle that situation?
Okay, thank you so much, Ma. So, like, everything still boils down to communication, and we need to start this as early as possible when raising our families. Like, maybe no matter how, children are very smart these days, because a child of 3 years old will understand some basic things. Like, even when we were back home in Nigeria, that we had the resources to meet whatever needs our children had, we sometimes intentionally do not give them whatever they request for at that time, because we also want them to know that it is not easy to get money, that you get to work for money. So for children that are entitled, it's never too late to start engaging them. It's all about orientation and the right use of words to speak to them, so that they would, fine, you are my parents, yes, you should provide food, clothing, and shelter, basic everything. But then that doesn't now mean that you as a child should put me under undue pressure to get this done. Because getting into a new country, everybody is starting all over again. And I will say the pressure is even more on the parents than the children. So, for instance, people that have risen to the highest level in their career back home and then coming here to start doing a minimum wage job, that is highly demoralizing. And it boils down to letting the children know what we are going through at every point in time. So when we got here, the first job I did was remote customer service. And my children knew that I was getting $16 per hour. and we'll even laugh about it. You know, the way customers will call me, and the way I respond to them
Yeah.
after my day's shift, we'll talk about it and we'll laugh. And they know that this is a minimum wage job, but we try as much as possible to provide within that means. My husband started working at McDonald's, getting $14 per hour. And with those little amounts, we were able to budget. And at that point, children were even like, oh, they will even still come to thank us that they know that it is not easy. Yes. And we also still try to test them. So my second child is 14 now. When we came from last year, he was obsessed with phone. We had to collect his phone from him. We didn't give it to him and all of that. So when he now got to high school, grade 9, he now started by, mommy, daddy, I need a phone, this, that, that. We didn't answer him. So last month was his birthday, September. So my husband said, okay, let me try and hear what this boy would say. You know, Dara, my husband has 2 phones. He said, would you take one of my phones, or should we buy you a new phone? He now said everything, anyone works, whichever one is okay by you. Of course, another child might have said, oh, give me a new phone. He said that brand of phone. So based on what he said, we took him to a store that day and he got a new phone. And I think, yes, it was even on a Sunday. And he now said, mommy and daddy were in the car. Thank you so much. They taught us about gratitude at church today. That I know that you parents are doing a lot for us. So, you know, from the depth of his heart, he really thanked us. So I would just want to encourage parents. Nobody knows it all, but the basic, like carrying them along every step of the way, would actually do like 50% of the job for us.
That's very good. Thank you, ma. So now let's talk about teenagers, because we're getting to that age kind of in our conversation. In Canada, from age 15, 14, 15, teenagers can actually work if they do the young workers training. It's something like that. I might be mixing the word up. They can get a job, though it's limited to certain industry. If there are alcohol serves there and stuff like that, they can't get jobs there, but they can get some jobs. Some can do paper route and stuff like that. So and I strongly support that when teenagers get to that age and they want to get a job, it doesn't matter if the parents can supply every of their need. Let them get a job, because what I've seen over time is it helps them understand what it takes to work for money and to spend the money properly. So when your teenager gets a job, what are the things that you will advise us to teach them on how to manage that money? Because, you know, in Yoruba language, it is said that the first paycheck that a child, or the first money that a child makes, they use it to eat cake. So in Yoruba, it's like, oh, so it's like, now I have money. And for the girls, that's when they want to buy a weave on or that lip gloss. And I'm like, that tiny lip gloss is $10. What's inside it? So what are the lessons we should teach our children before they start making money, especially the teenagers? There's some feedback. I'm not sure where. Okay, go ahead, ma.
Okay, ma. Thank you so much, ma. Yeah, so I'm just laughing because like most of these questions I have a first-hand experience. So yeah, because I have 2 teenagers. So my daughter started working like late last year. So yeah, as parents, we need to prepare their minds. Of course, because from the basic financial literacy talks that we do at home, she knows that I'm a very heavy advocate of savings. Like you save, and you know, I'm not actually, I'm always after looking good, but it doesn't really need to be expensive. I'm not like the designers, crazy kind of person, and she knows all of that. So when she started that job and then she started getting money, like you said, that excitement, oh, I have my money. She first started with, mommy, myself and my friends, we need to go to the cinema. I said, who is paying for it. Say, hey, we'll contribute. We need to do this. We need to do that. I said, no, that's not the essence of you doing your job. Like in the house now, we're not telling you to pay any bills. You just have to do this for you to have a first-hand knowledge of how to manage money. When you get your money, you have to put a certain fact. I would not say 100%. So like you have to put a certain percentage of your money in your savings account. In fact, my husband now told her that the maximum you must spend out of your salary in a month should be $50. That if you spend more than that, I would know because he could view the account.
Okay.
Then later, so I now told my husband that let's even try her. Let's see what she would do. So she got her second payment, and that's when my daughter would now be on shopping apps. She'd be trying to order clothes, order these, but she will tell me before she concludes it. She all types of, I'm like, okay, so now that you started working, this is what you want to be doing. Then she also did something at one time. She said, I have a lot of things to buy, and I want to make up the money. And on the app, she's seen the number of items that are left. Like some of them will be 2, and some will be 3. And so I asked her, how many months would it take you to save up the amount you want to use to buy this? She said maybe 2 more months. So I now told her, so you feel that the store will wait for you, keeping those items for you that you don't order, that you are eyeing to order by the time your money is complete. So I told her that first and foremost, that $50 that they told you to be spending, if you want to shop for items, you don't have to wait for your money to be complete. You can actually break it down. Whatever your money can buy now, buy it now. But the most important part of this is that you are working just for you to know how to save money. Because yes, and because money takes time to grow, especially when it is in all these conventional savings accounts of maybe something that we cannot really write home about. So it's better to actually start saving early. So, and since that time, she's actually been able to manage her money well. Yes.
That's good. That's good. You know, I'm laughing because I'm raising all girls. So any little thing, somebody is on Shein, and it's funny because there will be stuff on the wish list. There will be stuff sitting in the shopping cart for days, for weeks, for months, and I'll be like, "Oh, you're on your own," you know. So now that we've gone that route, how do we now, you know, because as they're growing older into maybe going to college, then what is the appropriate time to start teaching children to invest? Because there's a difference between saving, right, and investing. So saving, you want to do something, you want to plan a trip with your friends. They get to that season that you want to take a trip with their friends to maybe Edmonton, the West Edmonton Mall or something like that. And they put the money maybe in TFSA or savings account. But they need to also learn how to invest. How do we introduce children into that?
Okay. Thank you so much, Ma. So, yeah, like the financial stages of life is of 6. Like we have age 22 and below. That's the education stage, and that's the stage we have because they don't really have any responsibility at that point.
Exactly.
So we need to train them to have a great savings and expenses culture. Like you have to separate your needs from your wants. And then maybe from 23 to 30, that will be like their early career stage. So by the time a child turns 18, we can actually start training them on how to invest. Because yeah, so TFSA, anyone that lives in Canada and is the age of 18, so TFSA started in 2009. So for anybody that has been in Canada since 2009, they can actually operate a TFSA account, and the contribution room keeps accumulating. So whoever has been here since 2009 and was 18 years at that point, they should be able to know what their contribution room is. There are online resources to check that. So right now, last year the contribution room was 6,300, and then so this year it is 7,000. So anybody that was 18 years as our last year that just got to Canada, and so by this year contribution room will be 13,000 for them. So yes, they can. So basically, once they are 18, we can now start training them to invest their money. And I would suggest that it's best to invest with wealth management companies because with them interest rates are higher, and also basically we should also let our children know what the rule of 72 means, because before you even start investing there should be a goal. What goal do I want to achieve?
True.
What do I want my money to become, and how many years? So for instance now, if you want to invest $10,000, like, and for instance, let me take, you're putting it in a conservative portfolio, and I will say, okay, maybe the rate of returns is 3%. So using the rule of 72, if I divide 72 by 3, which is the rate of returns, so it means that that money is going to double in 24 years. So if I save 10,000 now and I'm getting 20,000 in 24 years, putting it in all this conventional portfolio, I wouldn't do that. And so because children are still younger, and they are able to, they have a long way to go to achieve whatever it is they are saving for. It is better to advise them to invest with wealth management companies. Many financial advisors can be contacted, and they would actually sit down properly to educate them, because some children might see some stocks like yielding very high, and they want their funds into all those kind of aggressive portfolios, but then we need to also guide them to, as much as possible, balance things up, so that whatever happens, at least they will be able to still get their principal and a reasonable yield on their investment.
Okay, that's good. So please, if you have a child that's a teenager getting close to 18, get them to a bank, let them open a bank account if they don't have one. Then talk to a financial advisor. Like within our Nigerian community here in Saskatoon, there's so many people with different platforms doing stuff like that, because the earlier we start them off, the better for them. I would like to backtrack a little bit and talk about younger children now. I know if for people that are permanent residents or citizens in Canada, the government pays child tax benefit. That's what it's still called. And also there is the, and that money, okay. So I heard from someone that money, some people are spending it. And personally for me, when we came, our children were still young. So when we started getting that money, we got educated on the fact that tuition fee is not cheap for university. So we started their RESP right away. Immediately day one, we started RESP. So please, ma, educate us on the benefit of having RESP for our children. Because I see some children going on student loan that were born here. Now, for those that came in as late teenagers, I know they don't have anything saved up. So parents have to pay, or the students have to go on student loan. So educate us, what is the benefit of having RESP for our children? Especially that we're talking about Canada. I'm not sure what it's called in the US. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma. So the RESP is Registered Education Savings Plan, and so this is part of the financial tools that the government have given to anybody living in Canada to be able to save up for children education. So the RESP can also be opened with the bank or any wealth management company, and an individual RESP have room to have up to $50,000 lifetime savings. And also every year, the first 2,500 that anybody saves into an RESP, the government matches that up to 20% to a maximum of $500. And that also government matches it from education grants. So that $500 that government used to match whatever is being saved can actually accumulate to a maximum of 7,200. So for anybody that is maxing the contribution room of 50,000 and also that 7,200 part of it that government is going to give would mean that they would have 57,000. That's like the principal now in the RESP, not talk less of whatever the savings aspects of it would have come up to. So I believe that regardless of how expensive higher education might be here in Canada, I believe with $50,000, a child should be able to finish their education. And then the beautiful part of it is that that part of 7,200, if anyone is able to actually get that, whatever that matching part of it, the student can actually withdraw it and then use it for anything that is related to whatever. But the RESP is strictly to pay for their school fees, tuition, and everything. So if there is anyone here that has not started with the RESP for their children, I want to just encourage them to start that. If you even say that you want to be putting 2,500 in a year, maybe by the time you pay $208 per child, that is even from the CCB that we are getting for the children. It is actually achievable.
True. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, because I was shocked when I heard that statement from someone. I'm like, even if maybe you're working minimum wage and the money is needed for family survival, still try and put something aside, because I tell you, college is not expensive at all, depending on the program that the child ends up going for. If it's a 4-year program, sometimes it's even more than 50,000 altogether. Textbooks, and if your child now goes into a program that's not in your city, then you're adding rent and feeding money wherever they go onto it. That's a lot of money. So at least if they have 2/3 of what they would need for college already saved up, then during the summer, they too can take up jobs and start saving money by the side also to balance up whatever is the shortfall from what the parents have been able to save up for RESP. Now, for the children that are adults and still living at home, and they finished school and they're working in the same city as their parents and are still living at home, I've heard about the first-time home buyers account, and that's a very good initiative. The one that we had kind of heard about before that became an official thing is that, I mean, for us Africans, we see certain things as taboo because we feel, how can a parent do that to their children? But I've seen some of my Caucasian counterparts that would charge their child rent because you're making money, you have an income, you're living at home, you're eating, everything is provided for you. So parents, but the part that I really like most about it is they're not taking that rent from their children to just go spend it. They're actually saving it up. So I've heard cases of when the child is now ready to move, the parents now brought back all the rent they've collected, and it was more than enough for a down payment for that child to buy a house. So I say to us immigrant parents all the time, there is culture, there's tradition, there's our belief system, but when we move to a new location, let's look at what they're doing that is working. If there's a system that's working, let's put that culture of, it's my child, why would I charge my child rent? Put it aside, because this is actually planning for the future of that child. I was saying to someone the other day about how, my colleagues at work were talking, and one was talking about how our mortgage is fully paid off. And I'm scratching my head thinking, how many years do we still have on our own mortgage? And we're some of them are even younger than me, because we didn't start this race at the same time. Now God has given us that opportunity to help the next generation, that's our children, to start on a better level. They won't have to deal with minimum wage, right? They won't have to do with some of the culture shock that we dealt with before we transitioned. We're able to acclimatize to this environment. So from your own perspective, if you have adult children, how do we support them so that they can land on their feet running when that time comes for them to stand on their own? Are there other ways that we can help them, man?
Okay, thank you so much, Ma, for that. Yeah, so for the adult children, so we talked about RESP. Yeah, that's actually for strictly for education.
Education.
And yeah, and then for saving towards down payment. So when the children are still young, like when they're still like kids, we can actually be deliberate about what we want to do for them. We can actually take up a permanent life insurance policy for them, which will
Okay.
have a cash value that will be growing by the side. So, aside, because life insurance these days is not really about if somebody dies, fine, that is part of it.
Part of
But
it.
there are a whole lot of other living benefits that people are not always open to listening to or even try to explore. So, and insurance, the earlier you get it, the cheaper it would be. So as parents, we can even say we can take up maybe like a policy that will be paying $100 a month into the policy for a child. So the child will be the beneficiary, and that the policy will also be taken in the name of the child, but the parent would also be attached. But we know that it is for this child.
Okay.
Then, and it's as the policy, the cash value will be growing by the side. So when the children, so when the child is of that age of buying a house, they can actually withdraw from the cash value option to add to the down payments that they want to use. And this can be tax free if it is taken as a policy loan, or if it is taken as a collateralized. We can use it to take loan from another financial institution. That life insurance policy will serve as collateral. And for the fact that the word loan is attached to it, it is not taxable. So they can do that. And then for the FHSA, it can accommodate up to $8,000 savings for a year. So each year we can save $8,000, and then it keeps growing. And if the child, maybe like I said, we should start early. So yes, which is why we should, as a family, always sit together, because like I said, there are six life stages to financial planning. The education, like the early career age. So we don't get into that age before we start making plans for it. Yes, because like I said, money takes time to grow. So we should consider that rule of 72, and then we should always like make smart financial goals. And then we break it down to short term, long term, medium term, so that we know what type of portfolio we will use for each financial goal.
Okay. So now that you've touched on life insurance, let's talk about life insurance. And I like how you snuck it in there that it's not about somebody's going to die. Eventually, we will all die. Eventually, good old ripe age by God's grace. So most of us, at least for like I know from where I'm from, when you talk about life insurance, there's this notion of you want to kill me and all that kind of stuff. But here we've realized it's different. Because if you don't have life insurance, you just shot yourself in the foot when you die, because everything you own goes to the government. So educate us about life insurance. How can we make sure that our children, they are the beneficiaries? In which way do we make it that maybe the tax that will come out of it won't be too much? The children will actually get good, good money, if I'll use that word, at the end of the day. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. So, like in this part of the world, everything we do must have insurance. If your car doesn't have an insurance, you cannot drive it. And there's one question that comes to mind, that out of the person driving the car and the car itself, who should even have an insurance in the first place before thinking of insuring? Because we do home insurance, everything has to be insured. But in most cases, the owner of those properties would say, no, I don't need it. Because beyond death benefits, would say life insurance is taken for protection in case if life happens. And life can happen in two ways. Life can be short and life can be long. We all know that one day we will all die, but we don't know the time. Like we pray for God to grant us long life to live up to good ripe old age. And in this part of the world, there's a risk that is very common, longevity risk, because people leave their retirement funds, and that is why you see people at their old age they're still trying to do some jobs to meet up. So beyond death benefits, life insurance can actually help us to achieve a lot of things. So like I said, so if we want to use life insurance for long-term planning, retirement, estate, and all of that. So it means that we have to get a permanent policy. And so we have two types of permanent life insurance policy. We have the whole life, and then we have the universal life. So like the whole life part of it, also, they also have the cash value aspect, but for whole life, it is the insurance company that is going to be managing it. For universal life, the financial advisor and the client, they are the ones that would manage that part. But before anybody can say, this is what I want to do, there's something I call financial independence number. Because like in Canada, we all have our SIN, which is attached to our name. They put up our SIN, the name will come up. In the US, we have social security number. Even in Nigeria, that we always say is not organized, we have BVN, we have NIN.
That's true.
So
That's true.
in that same vein, we should have FIN, which is called financial independence number. And the financial independence number means that like how much do I need to spend at retirement that will make me not to depend on anybody for assistance. So for instance, if somebody is like 60, like I want to retire in 65 and I want to plan my retirement up to like 95, and at retirement I want to have access to $100,000 every year between 65 to 95. That is 30 years. So 100,000 times 30 will be 3 million. Okay, so I need 3 million naira to live a good retirement life. Then that's when the how will now come in. How will I able to achieve that? So we will now work from the answer to the steps. So we now look at it. Okay, so in that part, we know that term insurance might not really be it, because term insurance is cheaper, but it might not be it. We need a permanent policy.
Okay.
And the beauty of life insurance is that, like I said, the death benefit is paid to the beneficiaries tax-free. Whatever tax that the deceased will be paying is going to be taken from the estate. So beneficiary is not going to be taxed on whatever the death benefit is. Then the owner of the policy, him or herself, can actually take money from the policy to do some other things. So so that the investments in the cash value aspect of life insurance, it goes tax-free. Okay. So which means that whatever growth is there and whatever the principal we are putting in, we can actually get everything tax-free. And then life insurance is also a good tool for accessing capital. That's cash value that we have taken tax-free. We can actually invest it into another capital asset that be generating money for us. So through life insurance, we can achieve that. And then life insurance also ensures like business continuity, because it's not only when somebody dies. Somebody can be critically ill. Somebody can have a short-term disability. So if someone is critically ill, life insurance provides lump sum to them to take care of whatever. So it prevents people from going to, oh, GoFundMe. And then for disability insurance, it offers income replacement. So that's part of the things that life insurance can help us to do. Life insurance can also help us to pay off debts. Like people that have accumulated, because this environment is just very tricky. Yeah, yes, because everything will just, you will go to store, they will tell you, come and take credit card as if it is free. So, so for people that have accumulated a lot of debt, life insurance is a
Mm,
tool that can actually be used to come out of that. It can be used for
okay.
retirement planning, like
Mm,
I said. Because
mm,
at retirement, you can even take the money and use it to buy annuities. That's
mm.
also like a story for another day, where
Another day, yeah.
like a fixed amount of money every month. You can
Mm,
get living benefit from life insurance and a
mm,
whole lot more. And it
mm,
can also be used for estate
mm,
planning and then final
mm,
expenses.
mm.
So really, it is actually beyond if I die
If
early.
I die, yeah.
Yes, and as a family, we should encourage our children. And also, the thing is, financial education,
Mm,
like finances,
mhm,
because Canada is the financial industry here is heavily regulated. Even
mm,
as a financial advisor, if you have your license, you
mm,
must still register with a managing general agency
mm,
to be able to operate,
mm.
because that you will be responsible to regulatory authorities through the
True.
managing general agency. So things
Okay.
are being
Mm,
monitored, and they're really
mm.
tracking what financial advisors are doing right now.
Doing.
So it
Mm-hmm.
has really gone beyond like maybe transactional advice. It is
Advice.
actually what is good for the customer, what do they need,
Mm,
and also
mm,
giving them that financial education.
mm,
Like for me, I will educate my clients. These are the basic
mm.
things you need to do on your
That's
own.
it.
Then when it is getting complex, you can actually come for us to
Mm.
talk about it.
True. True. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm looking at the time, and there's a question that I carried over from last week.
Okay.
You remember when I interviewed Divine Creation, and I was asking about, where we're from? The will will say this house belongs to this child. That's if your parents have more than one house. Yeah, each child gets, this house, that house. If people decide to invest in properties, like rental properties, houses, and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and they will it to the child, I believe the divine creation said something about tax or something like that. How do we navigate that to say, oh, we have three houses and we have three children, so each of them will take one, and that's in the will? How does that work? Just so we know, because most of us from Africa, we look at investment as in house. We build a house, right? So how
Yeah.
do we navigate that in handing it over to children without them getting taxed?
Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Ma. So, in property taxation, so like I have like a basic idea of this.
Mm-hmm.
So going in depth into taxation, but when somebody sells the principal place of residence,
Mm-hmm.
it is actually not subject to capital gain tax. So, and we know that before 24th of June this year, capital gain tax used to be charged on 50% of whatever profit that's for individual.
Mm-hmm.
But since 25th of June this year,
Mm-hmm.
there is a review to that. So for
Okay.
individuals, capital gain tax is 50% of whatever profits we've made up till a limit of 250,000. Then, if the profit is more than 250,000,
Mm-hmm.
on the excess, the capital gain tax will be charged on 66.67%. So, going to your question,
Mm-hmm.
the principal place of residence, there's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be taxation attracted to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the other properties that the person has willed to the
To the
children,
children.
yeah, so the way the estate taxes is calculated, the fair value, so it's not going to be like the tax on it is not going to be calculated as if those property are being sold.
Okay.
So so what is going to be um taxed in the estate will be the difference between the cost of that property when it was bought and
Mm-hmm.
the fair market value
Mm-hmm.
at the time that that person died. So
Okay.
that's what is going to be taxed
That's
in
okay.
doing the estate planning. But the principal place of residence is not going to be taxed.
Okay. So would you say it's better if parents are leaving homes to their children as an inheritance, that the children just keep it maybe as a rental property, than trying to sell it. Because some of our children might not live in Saskatoon, right?
Yeah.
We are based in Saskatoon. So if I have house and I say, okay, when I die at age 90, you children can inherit it. So which one would be the best way for them to go? Sell the house and move on, or keep it and rent it out? So something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so if those homes are owned for commercial purposes, like
Mm-hmm.
they are capital assets,
Mm-hmm.
those homes are acquired for the purpose of generating profit. So
Income.
if yes, they are going to be tax will be paid on it. Like if the
Okay.
person passes on,
Mm,
yes, yes, and they are passing it on to, although so like there's something that is called somebody dying intestate. That means the person
okay.
died without a will.
Without
But
a will.
yeah, but if somebody dies testate, that means the person has a will. So
Mm-hmm.
the people in estate planning and their will, the experts there
Mm-hmm.
would be able to actually explain this in more details. But I know that even if we have properties that we want to will for our children, the way
Mm-hmm.
the taxation is going to be done is not going to have like a huge impact.
Okay.
It's not going to be, the tax on it is not going to be as high as if we sell those properties. So
Mm,
if we sell those properties, we are still alive,
mm-hmm.
and they will charge us capital gains tax on it.
Okay.
Yes. But
Okay.
if we pass on and then we are giving it to our children, then the taxation
Mm-hmm.
is going to be handled within the estate.
Estate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So whichever way we look at it, because the Bible verse that I picked for that is when it says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, right?
Yeah.
So whatever investment we choose to go into, it will still be an inheritance that we leave for them. So whether there's capital gain tax or not, the major issue here is we need to break the mold of you owe me, I owe you, but to do what is right by living well, living an inheritance, both spiritually, emotionally, in different ways for our children, and also living with them with something that they can hold on to as a keepsake, if you wish, from what we have done for them. So thank you so much. If anybody has question, I haven't seen any in the chat box, so I believe my guest today has done a fantastic job. And like I said, please go follow our page. If you have any questions, send her a message and she will respond to you. But the main thing is we need to be financially literate so that we can teach it to our children. Be transparent, be open, let your children know, especially if you're new here, things have changed for a season. And even when there is plenty, let's learn not to eat with all our 10 fingers, like they told us in my own Yoruba culture. Like, don't just throw everything and just blow it out of, money development. Money will always find something to be spent on. So the culture of saving, investing, we need to model it for our children to learn that. Because we came here, for majority of us that relocated here, now our children are born and raised here. Let's ensure that they can start their own life off in a better way, better foundation than we had to start from the scratch when we were already made from where we came from. So any parting or closing remarks from you, Ma, before we put this to a close today?
Thank you so much, Ma.
Yes,
Yes, Ma. So what I want to leave with us today is that as a family, we should try as much as possible to set smart financial goals. And then we should show our children. I actually put the word smart before the goal because
mm-hmm.
the goal has to be specific. If I say I want to save $600, that's
Mm-hmm.
nothing. So specific, it has to be measurable. So if I say I want to save $600 in 2 months, so I know that okay, this is the timeline, and it should be realistic, it
Mm-hmm.
should be measurable, it should be achievable and time bound. So because whatever gets measured gets done, so that we'll actually have a checkpoint, and then let's teach our children early in life. Let's involve them. Let's talk about money conversations where they are. Let's, if we go to stores together, if we are buying in bulk as against buying in units, let's tell them the reason behind that.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, like some of us now, we are starting very late here, but there is nothing late in God's timing if we're able to
Correct.
get it right. And also, we don't want our children to be part of the statistics in North
Mm,
America, that when they
mm,
put something on Google, are North Americans struggling, and then we'll see the huge
mm,
percentage of people are North Americans living from paycheck to
mm.
paycheck. We don't want to be part of that statistics, and we don't want that for our children. So I just want to encourage us to imbibe the act of setting smart goals, and then
Yes.
we should be conscious in working to also achieve the goals. And then with God, we know that everything is possible.
Yes. Thank you so much. This has been a very educative session, and I hope everyone that has joined has learned stuff from today, and not just learned, put it to practice. Start carrying your children along, let them know how these things need to be done. So thank you for joining, everyone. The video will be posted on my YouTube channel very soon, and this will be on Instagram also. So until I come your way again with another guest to talk about something else, have a good Thanksgiving weekend. So all our Canadian viewers and from those from other parts of the world, thank you for joining. God bless you. See you next time. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Ma.
Yes,
Bye.
ma'am. Bye.
Bye, Ma.